All right, everybody, I want you to look right here. Press enter. All this stuff comes up. We press Y, and now I want you to look over here as I press enter. Holy shit, look at that. 200 purchase order folders instantly. So if you've been here since the beginning, the first video that I ever did on this channel was about using Claude code to batch create purchase orders and feeding it your job number, your vendor names, your naming conventions, and having it build this entire structure for you. It was genuinely useful, and then I discovered Claude Cowork, which was even more useful. But in the last couple of weeks, Anthropic has mercilessly throttled Claude's usage, and it's just expensive to do that stuff now. Even just having it read through my folder structures, it was burning through significant bandwidth before it got any actual work done. So I started thinking about these flows. I started thinking about what folder creation actually is at its core. And it's a mechanical task. You give it names, you give it parameters, and it makes the folders. There's no judgment involved. There's no interpretation, nothing that requires any intelligence, which means there's no reason that AI needs to be a part of it at all. So I kind of returned to how I used to do all of this, which was creating specific terminal commands within Claude and then copy pasting it into a terminal like this. And so while I was trying to brainstorm a solution based on the fact that my usage was really throttled, I came across the concept of scripts. So I'd heard of scripts before, I'd messed around with them a little, but I hadn't really understood just how simple they could be, especially if you have something like ChatGPT or Claude generating them for you and you being able to directly input what they are and ask questions and all that fun stuff. A script is just your terminal logic packaged into a single command that you can call from anywhere. So instead of typing out a full command every time, you basically package it and you can call it with one word. In this case, for me, it was newpo. And I should say, Claude built this entire thing for me. I did not write a single line of code. I gave everything I needed in plain English descriptions. I will say, in having started to use this, the trade-off is very much real and worth naming because you give up the conversational flexibility of being able to ask Claude to kind of handle edge cases on the fly. But what you gain and what you saw here at the beginning is a ton of speed, reliability, and it's zero token cost to whatever AI agent you're using. So the scripts that we're using are dumb by design, and they do exactly one thing each very fast. Claude or ChatGPT or whatever you use can still handle everything that requires actual judgment. But for really fast cases like this, it is incredible to really see how quickly I can execute a lot of these things. So I actually ended up building a number of these, and I'm going to walk you through them right now. They are all saved or at least referenced under a command called scripts. So when we press scripts, it now gives me all of my workflows. So the ones that I have immediately are export message, which is export an iMessage conversation to TXT or HTML. This is so useful if you have ever needed like a full conversation or context for something. I've been able to throw like full threads into ChatGPT or Claude to be able to generate messages or schedules or just to give it context and understanding for a job. Like that is really underrated. It's a lot better than taking screenshots of them or trying to highlight an iMessage conversation. Extract is actually part of my actualization workflow, which I'm going to do a full video on this, but basically what it does is it will search through my purchase order folder or whatever folder I point it to. It will look for every file or folder that begins with INV or REC, and it will try and read all the PDFs or images. So it will extract everything into a single text file that I can put into Claude or ChatGPT, and it will generate a working purchase order log for me. Then from there, anything that it wasn't able to read or it doesn't have high confidence in, it will flag and give me the actual files for me to upload manually so that Claude or ChatGPT can then visually verify everything. So again, it was all about decreasing the token count that I would have to spend now that the usage was throttled. This one is called newcrew, so I can create folders from a pasted list of names. Next one is newinv. This one's useful to me because it allows me to create a placeholder invoice. If I'm just waiting on somebody to send me an invoice and I just want to have a record of what I think it's going to cost and put it in the folder. Newpo is the one that you just saw, which creates the numbered PO folders for a job. And then I have one called prepend, which is a batch renaming feature where it will rename all the files in a folder with a prefix that I set for it. So for example, if I get a ton of petty cash receipts, like say I get, 50 petty cash receipt scans, I can use this prepend to actually batch name all of them so they all start with REC. So let's just walk through these one by one. First one is going to be new crew. So in order to do this, what I actually have it set up to do is I need to get the names of my crew first. All right, so we're going to highlight all the names in our crew list. We're going to highlight, copy. All right, we're going to go back to Warp and Finder, and then we will initiate new crew, enter. And what it actually does is it will automatically pull whatever I'd recently copied to my clipboard. So because I had all my crew list, it pulled all of my crew in there. Then it asked for me to drag a destination folder here, which basically means where do you want all these folders to go? Okay, let's actually just go in this folder. Let's delete everything in here. And then what we can do is we can either drag the pathway right in here to tell it where to go, or there's a shortcut to copy it as well. But we'll do this. We'll press enter. Create these folders, yes or no. You press yes, and then watch over here when we press yes. It has created all of them immediately. And I have a specific naming convention for it where I want it to be last name, first name. Like, can you imagine the amount of time that you would have had to spend naming all these folders or even just copy pasting the names over from Google Sheets? This is super simple, and I wrote the prompt for this in like 3 minutes using AI. All right, let's go back to our scripts and see what's next. All right, next up we have new invoice, which creates the placeholder invoice. So we're going to go into one of these folders and let's just shortcut copy the pathway so we're ready to go. We'll type new invoice. Base crew invoices folder drag here. We will paste that in there. And what this actually does is if there's an existing folder in here, it will give me that as an option to move into it. Otherwise, I just create a new folder. So we'll press N for new folder. And this actually assumes that you want to create the folder and the invoice inside of it. So we're going to have a double here, but looks like the name is Adeyemi Felix. We'll press enter, role. Let's say is the gaffer. Let's say his rate. Let's just say it's 700 for 10. Dates, we'll put it as today. And then extras, let's just say mileage reimbursement, $35. And then it will automatically create it, as you can see up here. Oh man, it gave the name and the name. I'd have to troubleshoot that. But either way, this is the important thing, is the fact that it generated this fake invoice, which when I do my actualization process, because it begins with INV, it will pull all of this information in there as part of the actualization. So moving on to the next one, let's say scripts. All right, so it looks like next one is new PO. So let me walk you through the whole thing as it stands. So same thing, we need a path to create the folders in. So let's just go to a fresh folder. We will drag it in here. Great, we'll press enter. It asks for the job number. Let's just say it's 25001. It asks for a subcode. We're not going to have one for this. We'll just press enter. Folder names, you don't have to name them, but you can insert comma-separated vendors. So to say, vendor 1, vendor 2, vendor 3, vendor 4, so on. You'll press enter, and then the total number of folders that you want. All right, let's just say we want 25 folders. We'll press enter. It will list every folder that it's going to create as the command, and then you just say whether or not you want to run it. You press Y, you press enter, and it does it instantly. I remember doing this with Claude that it would take maybe a minute to like kind of process and figure out all of this, which granted, it's doing it for me. So I was willing to wait as long as I sent in the command. But now that I can put all of this in like 10 or 15 seconds and have it do what it needs to do instantly, yeah, this is incredible. All right. And finally, scripts. All right. So let's start again. Prepend. We're going to press enter. Usage prepend, correct. Air it out. Oh, I remember what I did for this. I actually put it into a text expander snippet. So what we're actually going to do, we're going to do prepend REC. So actually what it is it is prepend, then it is the path, which we had copied. Then you put whatever you want to prepend it with right here. I could manually type this out, but I have the text expander snippet that fires everything all at once for me. So in this case, it says REC, but we could put, anything we wanted here. We could put anything. We could put invoice. We could put CHK. We could put COI. Doesn't matter. So we're going to put REC. We're going to make sure everything's all ready to go. Take a look up here when I do it. We're going to fire it. And then instantly it adds REC to the file name ahead of it every time. All right, and just so you can see this typed out manually, we will do prepend. I will paste what I had saved. We'll do a space. We'll do a single quote, and then we'll put CHK as the prepend, and then a space, and then we will press enter, and it does the same thing again, prepends everything with CHK. So those are the main ones. So we'll go back to scripts. And so what makes these worth a video as a set rather than as, kind of 3 separate standalones is how they connect. So, new PO over here, it will build a PO folder structure for you. Newcrew is able to then populate it with folders. And then newinv can drop placeholder invoices in there whenever you need to. So they all kind of feed into each other in one way or another. And then as you'll see in a later video, extract will then pick everything up and output it into a structured file that I can then filter into Claude, where the intelligence can be used to really help expedite my actualization process. And do not worry, I will make a downloadable in this video for all of the scripts, plus a template and instructions that are written for an AI. The idea being that you can drop the whole thing into Claude and it will walk you through adding the scripts to your own machine and modifying them for your own naming conventions or your workflow, whatever. You don't necessarily need to understand what the code does. You just need to understand what you want it to do and be able to communicate that to whatever agent you are using. You'll need to be comfortable opening terminal and running a couple commands to get these set up. And if that feels like a barrier, just do some digging. Like, it looks intimidating, but once you get a few reps under your belt, you will start to discover the brilliance that is terminal, especially given the fact that this is how computers originally worked. Like, this is tech from like the 70s or 80s, basically, and it is incredible. You know, the learning curve is a lot shorter than it looks. And if something breaks or errors out, you just paste the error into Claude and it will tell you exactly what went wrong and how to fix it. And that's it for this one, guys. Like 8 or 9 videos into this channel, and I'm already making videos that replace the workflows from earlier videos, which is kind of the whole point of this channel. Not that there is one right answer, but that the answer hopefully just keeps getting better and faster and more optimized. The first video was the right solution for me at the time, and now scripts are the right solution for me. Scripts are in a link in the description. We'll see you guys in the next one.